Have you guys heard of the game Blood? No, don't answer that. I'm sure you haven't. Don't get me wrong, the game does exist. It's just considered abandonware. There's a little history lesson for you. When a 3D Realms was celebrating their success for Duke Nukem 3D, they began on the projects two right after called Shadow Warrior, and another one was called Blood. The game was set to be released in 1996, right after the expansion packs for Duke. But this was a ploy to continue its long lifetime of success of their company by releasing different series using modified versions of the build engine. This modified version was to enable some of the sprites while using voxels in one screen at a time. Nearing just completion, Monolith Games brought Blood off 3D Realms and completed it shortly after. It was released in June 20th, 1997. However, it was overshadowed by ID Software. Blood had to complete with Quake 2 and Hexen 2, which was using a more advanced engine at the time. Because of this, Blood was easily overlooked. Monolith released the expansion pack known as Plasma, while the 3D Realms released the second expansion pack known as Creepypasta. These didn't help, and ultimately the game was forgotten and lost. I'm dead serious. The source for the code for Blood has never been released to the public. Thus, modding the game itself is considered impossible. I remember my father playing Duke Nukem 3D often when I was growing up. I used to watch him plow through the hordes of enemies, using unique weapons and listening to the hilarious dialogue Duke was known for. At the time I was 8, most of my memory was rather fuzzy, yet the Blood was something I remembered the most. This isn't a nostalgic trip. In fact, my father insisted that I never watched him. He said the game was too violent and gory, and said that it might give me nightmares, so I never really had seen the gameplay. That's all I can remember. Sitting in my apartment, I finished my homework and decided it was time for me to relax for a bit, so I listened to music as I looked through the countless WADs for Doom. Having Doom on Steam, I wanted to find one that would be fun to play, but then I came across a link for Blood, which is here. The game itself is fun and addicting to play, and after seeing how I can get it for free, I decided to jump onto it and give it a shot. No viruses, no malware, nothing. It's just a complete rip of the game and works just fine. Look into the link and give it a shot yourself if you wish. Though you may be asking, how is this creepy at all? I know this may sound like a cliche or a misuse of blood, but the game is actually what the title says. There is a lot of blood, and sometimes it is very exaggerated, and it is something for you to take a look at and see for yourself. Otherwise, this story would be just the sound kind of like experience almost bad creepy stories will often tell. After several months of playing Blood and beating it over and over, I looked into the history of the game and wondered why this isn't really known to people. How can this forgotten relic be unknown to gamers of all around? Duke was an amazing game, and this would have been the top 3D realm charts. In fact, I believe that Blood would be dethroned from the king from his chair if it had been known. After hours of research and reading, what little I could find on the game itself, it was time to call it a day. I left my computer on overnight so that the virus scan could do its thing while I slept. The next day I noticed Chrome was up and minimized. It was on the site that I don't remember visiting that previous night. It was a wiki page with a link on it. However, the wiki didn't have any other information on it, except for Blood as a header and a link. At first I was reluctant to click on it and pass it off as a disconnection from my IP. So I closed the window and tried not to think about it, only hoping that I could forget about it. During class, that link was on my mind. I couldn't for the life of me get it out of my head. I knew if I had clicked on it, something weird or retarded might have happened, but a bit curiosity got the better of me, and I went to my history, finding the opening past the page with the link. What I did, what anyone would do, I clicked on the link and watched only refresh the page, populated with information about Blood, and another link containing the modified version of the game. Red flags flew into my mind, and the source code was never released, so how can a mod exist? I closed the window, saying fuck it. For about 5 minutes later, my computer detected a virus and I freaked out a bit. It took some time to clear up the mess in the link that it had given me, but I was able to contain it. However, my desktop was at .r folder with the modded version of Blood. Somehow it downloaded itself and self-installed into the game folder on my C drive. I sat there staring at the folder, the game, just thinking about how this could have happened. I scanned the R folder to see if there was just another virus, but it came back negative. With a sigh, I decided to try it after all, and it was there and apparently was there to stay. The mod was called Blood the Nightmare, and it was a readme said that contained 7 new levels with 1 hidden text, with the message, "Try to find me." Try to find me? What does that mean by that? I thought to myself. Once again I started the game. I found myself in the office building, and the level was rather well done and difficult too. I shotgunned my way through the hordes of enemies, blowing them apart with TNT, all while trying to survive on the onslaught. As hard as it was very good mod. Well, I can't exactly say it was a mod, since it was more like an expansion with new levels. For the game, it didn't really add anything new, at least. That's what I thought. I finally finished Nightmare with some trouble, but I never did find that secret exit. So again, I played and looked for it, checking all the corners and crates, looking at the desks and walls, searching for anything that looked off of discolored and could possibly indicate that there might be a secret behind it. On the 5th level, behind a bookshelf, there was a door that led to a secret which held the exit marker. After completing the stage, it took some time for the game to load. When it finally did, I was thrust into a muddy, unfinished level filled with garbage and gargled pixels and voxels. It was difficult to tell if I was falling, standing still, or moving. The only indicator I had was my weapon moving from side to side when I walked. How the stage was made, it looked as if I wasn't progressing in the first place. After a few minutes of what I think I was walking, I heard welcome before suddenly dying in 1 hit. 1 kill, and I didn't even know what hit me. I started again and made it to the same stage once more, only to hear once again, welcome, and die in the same manner as before. This happened a few more times before a DOS box crashed due to low memory. I started the game again, deciding to skip the secret altogether, but the title screen changed. It kinda took me off guard and caused me to stare at my computer screen in confusion. The gargoyle that sits in front of the title with blood beneath it now was animated. It looked all the same, but now it only said Nightmare. All the options were working, and the new episode had been added, though a bit uncreative. It just said Blood as the name of the episode. I stared in the same room as you usually do in episode 1, level 1, but this time, the walls showed pictures of real violence. But you also see animated ones. If you're stabbed on the wall, some blood would squirt out, or if you waited long enough, you would see why anyway. There was a child who had been beaten to death, a man cutting his own fingers off with a knife, some pictures of cannibalism, and it only grew worse the more I progressed. The monsters acted normally, but said nothing when they activated. Not only that, but they moved much faster. On top of that, there was only 1 difficulty, and it was set on hard. Needless to say, this was relentless to get through. I died when I respawned. I noticed that the monsters I had managed to kill stayed dead. However, I didn't see my own dead body, and every time I died and came back, I would see where I had last died. The further I went, the harder it got, and soon enough, my dead body is littered all over the levels on screen. Eventually, DOSBox crashed once more due to low memory. I stopped for a while, thinking myself about this. I wasn't scared, but generally creeped out and disgusted. However, I wanted to see the ending of this so-called mod, so once again I boot up the game. This time the gargoyle was absent from the title screen, and the new option came up, Continue. I spawned in the same room as you do when you start episode 1, level 1 again, and I saw that there were textures back to normal. When I jumped out of the grave, I noticed my body laying in front of me. All the secret items were missing, along with all the weapons. All I had was a pitchfork. I found more of my bodies laying on the ground. More and more were littering the entire area. The monsters that were there, now completely static, and turned their head away from me. Even when I circled them, they kept looking in the opposite direction. They could be killed, but it just wouldn't let them attack me. When I reached the end of the stage, there were countless bodies of myself. The game didn't let me go to the next level. Instead, I lost control of my character, and it turned around and I watched the player character try to defend himself and try to get away from himself. The other character said nothing at all, but stabbed me as much as it could for a while. I was contemplating on running away. I heard my character wheezing and not breathing, as if a genuine look of fear took over. I watched as more and more bodies rose and walked away towards my location, like how some of the monsters would normally do when they are trying to get you, but much smarter than their AI. I watched as the heroes struggled in trying to get away. I couldn't see what the weapons they were using because of how old the game was, but I did notice they were damaging my character. I watched as his health slowly drained until he died. I was still not in control, nor could respond. I just saw the camera point upwards, look into hundreds of NPCs that looked like my character. When they all turned in one direction, as if they were looking at me, the final boss of the game walked up and stood in front of me. Swinging his arm, the screen flashed red and spurs of gore flew upwards. I shut the game down and took a deep breath, having a cigarette to calm me down. I went back to the wiki site and that link, but surprise, surprise, the site did not even exist anymore. I used to think that what scary stories supposedly haunted games were just to make believe, but now that I have something happen to me that I can't exactly explain, it's hard to think what's real and what's not anymore. After my smoke, I rebooted Blood again. Nightmare wasn't there. In fact, the .r folder and everything inside it was missing, all except for one text file which read, "You still didn't find me." I deleted the message and folder. I wasn't going to look. It was not worth my sanity. I'll still play the original game, but not that. Not again. And that, my pretties, was Blood the Nightmare, a gaming creepypasta written by Kayoska. I think that's how you pronounce it. My final thoughts on this story? Well, seeing that this is a really interesting concept for a creepypasta, I personally thought this was really neat. I really have to say this one is definitely one that I find that it was enjoyable, to say the least. I mean, I personally thought this was a really good story. I like the concept of it, of its own self. The grammar was pretty good, as well as the sentence structuring and the storyline. A little cliche, yes, but this is actually quite interesting. You know, it's basically the player playing a modded game of this game, which I've never heard or played, but it's actually pretty interesting. I mean, I remember seeing this on some Ordinary Gamer's channel at one point back when he used to do creepypastas, and this one was actually quite good. I personally really thought it was really neat and well done. I personally love that that this has been, it's really well done. I can definitely say that. And it definitely is one of the good stories, I have to say, that was good. I personally still liked it. However, I do wish that some stuff could be maybe improved, but that's just me personally. But I personally really enjoyed this story nevertheless. Yeah, to the author of the story, great job. I can definitely say this was a really interesting creepypasta. I personally really enjoyed narrating this. And yeah, I'll leave a link in the description in case if you guys want to, go and read the story for yourself. You're more than welcome to. And it's definitely a pretty interesting story. I can definitely say that. So anyways, with that being said, is there anything that I dislike about this story? Well, the ending about the site disappearing afterwards and files of folders disappearing afterwards, there's no explanation for why they all of a sudden just disappear. I mean, I wish that was explained a little better, but that's just me personally, what I think. But yeah, the story wasn't bad, but the ending wasn't really that satisfying, but you know, it was still an okay ending. I mean, it's kind of hard to make a good ending to a creepypasta nowadays. It's kind of hard to make a good ending, so yeah, there's definitely that, but I personally really enjoyed this story a lot. Now, like I'm always going to say, and like I always continue to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with it, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm going to give this story a 8.5 out of 10. While it's a really interesting concept, I personally liked it. There were a couple cliches in this story that I do know that were in, and the ending could have maybe explained more as to why the files disappeared afterwards. That would have really helped out, but it doesn't really go into detail as to what actually happened, so that's why it knocked down a point or two. But other than that, the story wasn't so bad. It was actually quite interesting. So anyways, with that being said, that's pretty much all I have to say about the story, but if I'm missing something and you guys know it, let me know what it is in the comment section down below. And as always, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm Shadow the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you enjoyed this channel, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when it uploads, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. As always, if you want to go follow me on Blue Sky, follow me on Twitter, follow me on DeviantArt, feel free to go follow me on those if you're interested. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, as a link to that will also be in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. And that's pretty much all I have to really say, so have a good night, day, wherever you're at, and I'll see you guys next time. And as always, roll the outro, because I'm out. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.